Hey everybody, this is TJR,
And this is Robert Kinsler.
and we're getting together here remotely to discuss and talk about the very sudden and unexpected passing of Dolores O'Riordan. Best known for her work, of course, with the Cranberries as the lead singer. But we should also point out that she had a solo career.
Hmm.
We should also point out that she also formed a band called Dark. In that band, she had a member of the Smiths in that group with her. That was Andy Rourke of the Smiths in that band with her, and we should point that out too. But
Yeah,
most people know, of course, the Cranberries,
right,
singles, and those albums, which they did quite a few. And
right. Yeah.
so at this point, we don't know a whole lot about the nature of her passing, do we?
No, we don't. It happened very suddenly. I think everybody's shocked. Only 46.
Yeah,
And what I read, at least initially, and you may know more, TJ, is that she had flown from Ireland to London to do some recording, right? And then, but there a lot of details haven't been released yet.
the only, I think, clue we have at this point is just simply the fact that prior to these recording sessions, she was, of course, doing shows with the Cranberries, and they had to cancel some dates due to health issues related to her back.
Right.
Don't know
Hmm.
if any of that's even going to play into it in any
Hmm.
shape or form, but that's
Exactly.
maybe the closest clue we have. I had heard different things that one that she had possibly passed out in the recording studio, but now I'm reading that no, she was found in her hotel and passed.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard that till you filled me in. I was pretty much shocked when I heard the news. And like as you and I have discussed, I saw the Cranberries several times in the '90s. I hadn't seen them recently. Obviously, they were on hiatus or they had broken up for a while. But I love the band. Both my wife and I were huge fans. I'd seen them once at Irvine, headline at Irvine Meadows here in Orange County, and then subsequent to that, I think right after they released "Bury the Hatchet," which came out in 1999,
Mhm.
I'd seen them at Universal Studios, and they were fantastic. And Dolores was obviously the center of that band, not only as a songwriter and a guitar player, but just her vocals and her presence were very dynamic. And
Yeah,
it's obviously a big loss for her family, her friends, and her fans.
and for music fans everywhere. Apparently, she was like the primary songwriter in that band. And what's interesting is that band was already together and formed. They
Hmm.
already had a lead singer, and she, I guess, I don't know what the story is. Apparently, the lead singer left. I don't know what the reasoning is,
Hmm.
or anything about that. But she auditioned as a teenager for the band. Was given the position, and she began to write songs.
Hmm.
From what I understand. And apparently a lot of really good songs because the
Yeah, a lot of very good songs.
well,
Six. Yeah, very for those interested in discovering what made her special and stuff. I mean, the good thing is with the digital age on the internet, there's many of her
yeah,
classic and historic performances. I think the band played it. Like Woodstock '94 or something like that, and their version of Zombie. I know I saw it on one of the news sites today. Was fantastic, and that was one of their many amazing songs. But it was particularly powerful because I think it discussed some of the troubles in Northern Ireland,
always
and
political.
she had written that after she read about several children being killed. So
Yeah,
obviously she, even at a young age, she was already writing these very powerful songs, kind of free of cliche and everything, which
yeah.
is great.
You saw them during the '90s before they broke up, and you saw
Hmm.
them during basically what many people would call their so quote unquote heyday.
Right, exactly. When they were, I
They-
mean, for them to headline Irvine Meadows, that was a big deal because
yeah,
it's since closed, but that was a major concert venue, probably the largest outdoor concert venue here in Orange County, California, and hosted many great bands, Coldplay, Dave Matthews Band, Neil Young. I mean, the list goes on. And yeah, they were very big at that time and put on just had many great songs. Even right out of the gate.
yeah. Let's talk a little bit about just the Cranberries and where do you think they would fit in insofar as that decade, the '90s?
Hmm.
When we think of the '90s, we tend to think more probably of the grunge acts.
We do exactly.
Sound,
Yeah, and it is interesting because it kind of defines it. The grunge acts. Primarily I'd say Pearl Jam and Nirvana, but you had Alice in Chains. I mean, the list was considerable. Stone Temple Pilots. I mean, it went on and on. But the Zombies didn't sound like any of those groups. They were like the first major band, I think, after U2
Uh-huh.
from Ireland that was so successful. And but they didn't sound anything like U2. For one thing, they had a female vocalist. Dolores was brought something very new to their sound.
And a
But
musical.
I think they sounded very good in the '90s, but they didn't sound like everybody else, which is to me the hallmark of a great group.
Yeah. During the '90s, that decade, I would say it was typified. Of course, many people think of the grunge acts,
Hmm.
and also during the '90s, there was this huge influx of female singer-songwriters. Joan Osborne,
Right.
Sheryl Crow,
Hmm.
Jewel.
Right. Exactly.
And now,
Exactly.
Zombies, we do have a very strong female singer songwriter in the band,
Hmm.
but it is a band. And I kind of feel like maybe it's kind of they're like somewhere in between all that.
Hmm.
They are a band, but they do have a strong female singer songwriter. There was an aggressiveness at times to their music. She could sometimes sing with that very soft, smooth, very delicate voice.
As evidenced by "Linger," which was that had very beautiful sound. Yeah.
But she could also really wail at times too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like "Zombie," that song we just discussed. A
Yeah,
very or but she could do those both things very well, like you said. So she had the gift of being a songwriter. She was very good front person for the group too, as well. I mean, a very good presence
hmm
on stage. And it was a complete package, and it lifted. I don't think the Cranberries would have ever achieved the amount and the kind of success that they did if Dolores O'Riordan wasn't in the group. I mean, that I think is obvious.
well, yeah. I mean, well, certainly the songs. Songs are like a huge part of what
Yeah, they are.
anything's going to.
Yeah.
It's going to make or break you. It's going to be those songs, and
Yeah, and that was still, and people can argue today whether it's songs or more producers, but back at that in the '90s, the song was still critical.
I think
You know,
so.
you had to have great songs, and she
That time,
definitely brought that to the group.
yeah, especially during that time with that particular music explosion,
Hmm.
we were beginning to move away from two things: the heavy synth pop sound
Hmm.
and the '80s pop metal sound. That was kind of dominating the airwaves at that time, and
Hmm.
hip hop was just kind of still simmering underground at this point, not
Hmm.
getting mainstream acceptance yet. And that's when suddenly there was this huge explosion that basically kind of said goodbye to the pop metal, the romantic, synth pop music. And I'm not dissing either of those genres. I've certainly come to like many groups in those genres too. But
Hmm.
I think that's kind of what it kind of pushed that out of the way. And there was this whole explosion where you had the heavier bands like Nirvana, and you had the singer songwriters like Jewel. There were bands like Garbage, another one from that same time
Hmm.
where you had a female singer, but they were much heavier, I think, overall, darker and heavier.
They were probably, yeah, and they had more electronica elements too. And they're definitely very
More
different
electronic.
groups.
And
Yeah,
I almost called the Cranberries the Zombies because I was thinking of that hit single. Sorry about that.
yeah, yeah.
But the Cranberries had, I think, a more introspective approach, or I should say, Dolores O'Riordan had a more introspective approach to songwriting versus, say, maybe Garbage.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's good, and and thinking back on it, because I do think of some of the groups that attained some kind of success, maybe not in all cases as
Yeah,
much as the Cranberries did, but I'm thinking of a group like Toad Duet Sprocket or something. There were some other groups that were able to get through with songs,
yeah,
and they didn't necessarily have the grunge or even the singer-songwriter thing.
yeah.
But the Cranberries were very unique, like a group like Dada, like a group like perhaps Hootie and the Blowfish. Groups that seem to exist in their own little world
hmm
that came up from perhaps a music scene. I think the Cranberries were actually from Limerick, Ireland. They weren't even from Dublin, so they were obviously from a very small market in a very small country.
hmm
So they were able to develop this unique sound and stuff, but it did have an appeal to a much broader audience. On this side of the pond, and obviously, I'm guessing they were big in Europe and probably South America as well.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Like I said, Rolling Stone called them the best import from Ireland since U2 during the
mhm.
90s when they hit. And they had a string of very successful albums in the 90s. They managed to get lots of radio play, and deservedly so. Unfortunately, then they broke up in the late 90s, and then when they did get back together, it was 2013 or 2012.
I think well, the Roses came out I think in 2012. I think they got back together. I want to say in January 2009, and I don't know. that's where I kind of lose track. I don't know if it was first to do some shows,
Mhm.
but they did do that full length comeback album titled Roses, and I do recommend that album. It's a good album. In particular, there's a really good song called Tomorrow on that album that I think's, especially in light of the tragedy of Dolores, passing away. It's a very poignant song, and I think it's one that
Okay.
fans of her will want to make sure they hear that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. We want to encourage you, if all you've ever listened to is like the hits, like Linger and Zombie, that sort of thing, that you try to explore a little further.
Yeah.
Listen to the full albums. At the very least, listen to those two first albums from
Yeah,
front to back.
and I would pile on and say the album that I mentioned, maybe because I saw that tour, Bury the Hatchet, but there are some fantastic songs on it that did get some airplay or video play,
Hmm.
but not as much as they deserve. There's a song called Animal Instinct that I think is fantastic. There might even be a music video out. There's another song called You and Me off it, and then there's another one that's beautiful called Just My Imagination. These were very good songs, but again, you know. And I'm not going to blame audiences, but I think it's radio can be very fickle.
Oh yeah.
Or if a label doesn't promote a certain album or the timing is wrong. I mean, we've talked about it with bands like Big Star or the Smithereens after their first couple really huge albums. Even though they continued to do this amazing music, it didn't get distributed or didn't get played.
Well,
And it's
by 1999 to 2012, quite a bit of time has passed, and radio has totally changed by that time. The radio
yes, yeah,
changed completely by that time, and yeah, and it can be hard, I imagine, sometimes for a band to be gone for that length of time and then suddenly try to pick up steam again,
hmm
with audiences, especially without radio airplay. But they did keep making new albums, and they did continue to just follow their own muse, which I tremendously respect.
I do too. Yeah, and this terrible situation has me even. I plan to do a lot of listening of their albums this week, and including the latest album Roses as well, because like I said, this was a very talented group, and she was an amazing singer. Her voice was, you know. Up to the most recent recordings I've heard, she just she didn't sound like anyone else. I mean, there was a certain Celtic quality to her voice, but I don't think you can really compare her to other Irish singers that people are familiar with. She was very unique, and like you said, as a songwriter, she also brought something unique, to the band too as well.
Absolutely. I don't suppose we have any real information about the recording sessions that she was involved with in London, whether or not that was for the Cranberries or any solo work. We don't have any real information as to what she was working on at the time, do we?
No, not that I've heard. I'm sure more details will come out soon. I mean, we're recording this the day that the news broke, so obviously there's just not a lot of information. Ireland is, I think, 8 or 9 hours ahead of us here, so I'm sure in the days ahead we'll probably learn more
Sure.
about what happened, and also about are there any recordings that might see the light of day, and hopefully we do get some more music from the Cranberries and Dolores O'Riordan. That would be fantastic.
You never miss the water till the well runs dry.
That's true. That's true.
So anyways, of course, our thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends, and
And I think and I think I've read too that she had 3 children. Obviously, that's
that's correct.
heartbreaking too. Yeah, that they lost their mom and stuff. I mean, so that yeah, your prayers definitely go out to her family and friends. I mean, that's just devastating for them, but like you said, also for all of her fans throughout the world, it's terrible news.
And so young, it's just still hard to believe. Only 46.
Yeah, yeah.
So who knows? We'll find out what happened. At any rate, though, please, leave your comments. Please share your thoughts, your memories, songs that you liked, albums that you liked, concert experiences. Share your thoughts and feelings about the band, excuse me, and about Dolores O'Riordan, and her solo work as well. Um, and we'll look forward to reading your comments, and so will everybody else. And anyways, though, it's sad to lose another great music talent, another rock talent, and an exceptionally talented female singer songwriter.
So true, and yeah, been too many great artistic voices,
Yeah,
that we're losing. It's very sad day. Yeah,
too early. It was too early for this one, way too early.
sure was.
But we have to accept it. So, everybody, just thank you so much for watching. My name's TJR,
And my name's Robert Kinsler.
and we'll be talking to you all soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.